Today, let's take a look at what could have been when it comes to the Star Trek franchise. This article is from CBR.com. The Martian author, Andy Weir, gives his honest opinion on new Star Trek shows and reveals Paramount rejected his pitch. Author Andy Weir, The Martian, and he also, of course, wrote the novel Project Hail Mary. The film adaptation of that movie is currently in cinemas, and I highly recommend it. It's also doing extremely well at the box office. Is not the biggest fan of some of the Star Trek content that has been developed by Paramount in recent years. Although, as the writer admitted, he also feels miffed that the studio rejected his own pitch for a new Star Trek project. Weir recently appeared as a guest on the Critical Drinker podcast. The author, whose book Project Hail Mary inspired the new theatrical hit starring Ryan Gosling, explained how he's long been a fan of the Star Trek franchise. He recalled how much of an impact Star Trek The Next Generation had on him as a fan when the series first arrived on television. Yeah, and I have no doubt that Weir is a big Star Trek fan. His books that he's written, the sci-fi novels like The Martian, Artemis, and Project Hail Mary, are simply good, clever, character-driven science fiction stories with no agenda, and they feel hopeful, optimistic, and they are exciting and fun, as simple as that. Exactly what Star Trek used to be, what it should be, what's sorely been lacking in modern Star Trek lately, unfortunately. And I think as well that Project Hail Mary had a lot of Star Trek-ness about it, if you know what I mean. It says, I'm Gen X, so my sci-fi was like original series Star Trek reruns and Lost in Space reruns, he said. And there wasn't really much in the way of new sci-fi that was airing where people were off in space doing cool things until we got to Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, I mean, same for me. Reruns of Lost in Space in the 80s and the original series. I've said this before. I feel that too much of modern Star Trek today is being written by writers who grew up watching Buffy, and that's why they're trying so desperately with the dialogue to sound like Joss Whedon Buffy dialogue. And they can't measure up to how well Whedon did it. It says, jumping ahead to today, Weir admitted he was not so big a fan of the newer content the Star Trek franchise had to offer. When it was mentioned that Star Trek Starfleet Academy was ending after 2 seasons, Weir stated, "It's gone, baby, it's all gone." Weir went on to clarify how he appreciated some of Paramount's more recent offerings, and that he even pitched his own concept for a Star Trek show. His pitch didn't get approved, leaving him feeling more open to share how he really feels about the brand. This is where it gets good. I'll give you my opinion, and I'm just a consumer, he said. I like Strange New Worlds. I think it's pretty good. I didn't hate Enterprise. I thought it was kind of weird. Lower Decks I thought was entertaining and fun. All the others, they can go. He continued, and here's another thing. I pitched a Star Trek show to Paramount, and I was in Zoom with the showrunners, with all the shows, and spent a lot of time talking to executive producer Alex Kurtzman. I don't like a lot of the new Trek. He as a person is a really nice guy, but at the same time, those shows are shit. He is a nice guy, but they didn't accept my pitch, so, F him. To be fair, he was kind of joking when he said that. He's like, no, he was being jovial in that particular part of the interview with Critical Drinker, and I do recommend that you check out that interview for yourself. But given Weir's writing ability and his love for Star Trek, and I've no doubt his understanding of Star Trek and science fiction, I would have loved to have seen what he'd come up with his Star Trek proposal, whatever project that was going to be. And I think it's our loss that we never got to see that project come to fruition. I think it would be wonderful if you had creative minds like Andy Weir and J. Michael Straczynski and Terry Matalas running the Star Trek franchise. And maybe that'll come to pass in the future if the powers that be decide to reboot Star Trek again at some point down the line. The future of Star Trek now remains unclear. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 4 is coming out in just a few months, with Season 5 concluding next year. That will conclude the series. Strange New Worlds Season 4 and 5 were shot together. So that show is in the process of completing post-production. Obviously, Star Trek Starfleet Academy is cancelled, so post-production on its final season, Season 2, is still ongoing, editing, CGI, scoring, etc. But there's no new Star Trek TV series being filmed at the moment, so nothing new being shot at the present time. And nothing new has been greenlit. There is, of course, that proposed Star Trek Year 1 series, which I mentioned before, but no reports that it's actually been given the go-ahead. So Starfleet Academy is cancelled. Strange New Worlds is putting the finishing touches on its final 2 seasons. Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, Section 31, and Prodigy are all in the past. That's all, folks, at least for now, until there's confirmation of a new Star Trek project. The future of the franchise looks uncertain. It looks uncertain. I do expect there to be some announcement later this year on what the future roadmap is going to be for Star Trek. And I think it certainly needs a roadmap. I think what it needs more is a break, and for someone to come back, and I think there needs to be some careful reflection on what's been made over the last few years. And I'd love if someone who really knows Star Trek well would come in and maybe decide what's canon, what should be canon, what shouldn't be canon, you know? But that's another discussion. Regardless, if I could have turned the clock back, I would have given up all of these recent Star Trek projects to see what Andy Weir's Star Trek would have been like, what we could have had. But if I was a betting man, I think it's likely that the next major Star Trek project that will get the green light, and this is just my prediction, I think it's probably going to be a new movie. They haven't done a Star Trek film since 2016's Star Trek Beyond, and I think Paramount Skydance will probably be keen to get another theatrical Star Trek release at some point and just bring Star Trek back to the cinema. So there you go. That's going to do it for now, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Computing Forever. Hit the notification bell to be notified of future updates. Hit that like button. Share the video out there. Take care. And I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.